What we're going to be talking about is the promoting planning. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? What our key messages have? What could promoting planning, how is it going to happen? And who do we need to engage with? And what you can do to help. And this is a double team, it's a tag team.
My turn at the podium. For younger planners here, you may not realize it, but you are very lucky that the stars are in alignment. We have a prime minister that is interested in planning. We have 2 city mayors, and probably more, but certainly Mayor Nenshi and Mayor Iveson very interested in planning. And we have, for the first time in a very long time, a provincial government that is interested in planning. So that only happens once, maybe even every 2 or 3 generations. It's been 43 years of government, of Conservative government. This government has promised, has a platform, they are on a mission, and they're moving very quickly. So their first promise is sustainable development. Their primary focus right now is climate change, but their bigger promise is sustainability in terms of economic diversification and social inclusion. So our proposition, that is Gary and myself, is that sustainable development, if they're going to deliver what they promise, they need to deliver good planning. And we've nicknamed this sustainable planning, which we'll come back to as a term. We can claim authorship for it, maybe. But we think that's a term that's going to resonate with the province, and so that's the angle we're going to push. And we think that we, all of you, have a role to play with the province.
With the promoting of planning, what we're, and before we do carry on a bit, we've been talking with a number of our colleagues over the last couple of months, 5-6 months. I'd like to draw attention to them: Jolie Wetzel, Harry Harker, Jean Ellers, then also Ron Morrison, who wasn't able to join us over the last couple of days. But a lot of these ideas and thoughts have been generated through conversations with them over the last couple of months. And what we're really wanting to do is to restore Alberta as a planning leader in Canada. And this is not a return to the past, but Alberta has enjoyed some times as the legislative leader, provincial legislative leader in planning, and it would be nice to get back there. I know that we do have quite a committed group that is looking at changing the face of planning, so we're looking at this as an opportunity to really recharge, reboot, and refresh.
So what will it take to make a success? Number 1 word, collaboration, and we're 2 people, 2 guys. It's going to take a lot of effort. We need all planners, and we need friends of good planning. We need clear and focused communication, so we can't send mixed messages. Number 1, and this is an important one, we're APPI, we are an institute as the voice of planners, but this is not about us. This is about good planning and about the public interest. So not what of interest to us, but what is of interest to the province. The key audiences are the provincial government. Will come into, Gary will speak later to exactly the key audiences we want to target. And it's about reestablishing our credentials and our profile. And I think we tend to be very humble people. This is not the time for planners to be humble. And the threats are, as planners, sometimes we analyze things a lot. We have been accused of moving quite slowly. This is not the time to do that. We need to move very quickly. There is a narrow window of opportunity with this government. If we fail to gain your support, and the people who are not in this room, then we're not going to succeed. We, as I said earlier, have to promote good planning, not us as planners. And let's face it, this is a government in a rush. They need good news stories, and I think we as planners have the ability to deliver some of those. They need some successes, and we're in a time where Albertans are feeling a little low, and so the more good news stories we can deliver, the more we are going to help this government, the more we're going to help good planning in this province. And if we don't step up, this is not meant to be a threat, others will, and they are. The Fort McMurray case in point, every home builder, every institute, every group's up there willing to help. I was very pleased to see our institute step up as well. But it goes beyond that. I think that we need to put our hands up and tell this government that we're there. Future governments may be less receptive. We don't know whether this is a one-term or two-term or three-term government. Those of us with gray hair in the audience know that things can change pretty quickly, and we have, I think, a fairly open, receptive government today, but we may not have that in the future. Another point that we're going to speak about in a minute is that we think planning has been fragmented over the last few years, and if you want to put it bluntly, demoted. And this is a great opportunity for the province to rebuild planning leadership.
As Doug was saying, our main audience to begin with is definitely the government. And Doug and I are both involved with the Alberta Real Estate Foundation, where we've been sitting on the board for quite some time. And through that involvement, we've been certainly in direct contact with a lot of environmental groups, both active within the province as well as those that have been invited into the province from outside. And this is part of the reason for our expressed interest in APPI stepping up to the plate and really taking a higher profile. One of the things that has happened with Premier Notley and the political side of the government, they are relying on a lot of resources from outside of the province. In a couple of meetings that I've been attending with environmental groups, they're taking a very lead role in helping the government certainly decide its environmental future, as well as how it's going to be addressing things like climate change, for example. And I think it's important for the Institute to certainly register its credentials, collective credentials, with the government to let them know that we have been involved with essentially climate change issues for most of our career. And there's an opportunity for us to take some responsibility and elaborate upon what has already been done within Alberta and make sure and help government to get out and talk with Albertans about Alberta issues. To date, we've had some positive feedback just on some informal conversations that Doug and I have had with a number of people in government in relatively senior positions. And it's been interesting, the enthusiasm that there is there to hear about what we do, for example, with climate change, sustainable planning, and also the growing work with Indigenous communities. We do have some interest, formal interest expressed in setting up meetings already with senior people within municipal affairs, within the minister's office, also with two individuals that are well-placed within Premier Notley's office who have indicated that they would be happy to provide some support and certainly direction in how we're able to, one, tailor our message and then take it forward to the people that they feel should be talked with. And I do stress the point about talking with. Thanks,
Gary. And I want to point out that everybody in this room, like it or not, has connections with the provincial government. You have an MLA. You probably have someone, a fellow planner who you know works for the government. And this is a receptive audience. When, as Gary said, everyone we've talked to so far, some of them have almost bordered on, oh, when we were wondering when you'd knock on the door. So this is I think this is actually going to be maybe a little bit easier than we first thought. But I want to go back in history, and I wrote the article for the APPI newsletter when regional planning was dismantled, and I had I don't know if it's the privilege of attending the reporting on Dr. Steve West and the destruction of Alberta planning. So I want to go back, but that's the negative part. The good part is that we were once leaders. This was one of the earliest provinces to adopt planning legislation. We had a strong alliance with the United Farmers of Alberta. We were advocates of good planning. We knocked down billboards, we stopped strip development, we implemented regional planning. This group, together with others, really put Alberta on the planning map. And that stayed that way for a very long time. Under Ralph Klein and Steve West, whether you like them or not, there were radical changes. I then, as planning director of Banff, I was there when the Planning Act was absorbed into the Municipal Government Act. And then more recently, we've seen the Land Stewardship Act. So we have actually kind of a divergence of planning. I guess what's bothered me the most coming back to Alberta after 20-odd years is to see that the province no longer really supports the rural areas, regions, does not have the capacity, the number of planners it once did, and the resources, the support for areas is not there. We can debate this later, but that's my perception as the outsider. Subsequently, I don't know that we've actually seen planning bounce back. And in fact, I would argue that we've actually diluted it by splitting planning in two. We have the old English Town and Country Planning Act fought under the Municipal Government Act. And now we've set up the Alberta Land Stewardship Act, which is derived from resource management planning theories of the 1970s. So we have two outmoded planning theories. The English don't even use their old Town and Country Planning Act anymore. And there are very few places left that use resource management. So maybe it's time that we start to actually amalgamate those two. But that's a discussion for another day. This is a kind of a joke question, but I went through the provincial wiring diagram to see where I could find where planning was. And I found there's sort of two cells left, one under environment and parks and one under municipal government. There are people here from both those departments, I think. But again, having gone away when I left, planners were up at that upper echelon. And I don't know that that's the case anymore. I met our only planner member of parliament the other day, Andy Fillmore from Halifax. He says that he's researched this and he's the only planner in history to have made it into the federal government. Now, I don't know if that's true, but you think of the number of lawyers in cabinet or government. So, back to you, Gary.
Thank you. Just picking up on one point that Doug was commenting about the separation of environmental aspects and also planning aspects into almost parallel paths. Certainly with our environmental impact assessment review process within the province, it parallels the Planning Act, not the Planning Act, but the planning function or vice versa. AACIP, for example, the predecessor to APPI during the mid-90s, did look at ways in which environmental impact assessments could be used as planning tools more than what they are. And so there has been some collective history about trying to address this issue before, and it's something that I think we can still build upon. But just quickly going over the steps about how we can promote the planning. This initiative that Doug and I and others have gotten involved with has tied in, and it was, I guess, some psychic powers that were working at the same time. When we were talking with council, they indicated that we were actually addressing a couple of the strategic points that they wanted to address in their plan as they move forward. So that did provide us with some sanctioning that we've been running with. We're also wanting to develop more of a relationship, and I think we did have a relationship, and certainly some of our predecessors and earlier councils did have working relationships, just good collegial contacts with not only elected members of the legislature, but also with senior executive. So we're suggesting that we do get more in front of them directly and personally. We do, however, want to make sure that we're working with an orchestrated voice. There's a lot of tangents, a lot of different tracks that we can take with what's being brought forward, and Doug's going to elaborate a bit on that in a moment. But we really do want to make sure that we're collective in our approach to government. And we're also looking at keeping this current so that it does certainly fit with current ways of media, getting much more into utilizing social media along the way, but using that to augment, again, those personal relationships that we've had. And in doing so, I think there's opportunities here for every type of member in the Institute to get involved as they show. Try that again, talking about communications, as they so wish. And we would really like to encourage as many people to step forward as possible.
And we should probably reiterate again that we're not trying to turn back the clock. This is a new initiative. This is not back to the glory days. So planning as leaders. So we've kept it very simple. We think there are two key messages, and once we assemble our team, there might be third, or these may change, but we're going to throw these out there today. So number one is that sustainable development, government, that's your priority, requires sustainable planning. So that's a nice short message. And the subtext below that are, we can help you deliver your promise of sustainable development. Planners are experts in sustainable development, which I believe is true. Government, you have no stronger supporter than APPI. We can assemble a coalition of other supporters. I'm confident, having talked to, for example, landscape architects, that they will get behind this. Climate change, we know, is your number one priority, Premier Notley and government, and Shannon Phillips and others. But we also know that economic sustainability is hot on the tails, economic diversification, transition to the clean economy. And we know that social sustainability goes to the heart of this government as well. So we can help you with all of those. And this is not a key message.
This is actually just to pick up on some of the same things that I think CIP is addressing. And it goes back to the point about climate change, and that is one of the key platforms in both the federal, obviously, and the provincial governments. And this is one of the key messages that's being brought forward by the CIP's climate change subcommittee. And I think it really underlines the fact that no matter what we're attempting to do in addressing climate change and ultimately sustainable planning, is that we're going to win with a better world no matter how we try. And just, if I may, picking up on that point about helping government, and again, this goes back to the NGOs, where the NGOs are realizing that they bring so many strengths and capabilities to the table. And they're also looking at ways in which they can partner or engage or expand their influence by working with other groups. And for example, the idea of having NGOs becoming more involved with the actual planning process and sharing some of the perspectives that we have, as well as certainly working with us on dealing with Indigenous communities, which I know is something that's dear to certainly the Alberta government at this point.
And look, for us, this is not an insincere message. I mean, no one in this room believes in that last one. This is all a hoax. This is what we stand for. So we're not selling a story that does not resonate. Some of you may say, well, what is this word sustainable planning? They just invented this. And yes, you're right, we did. Because we need to communicate very quickly to the government what we do, and we think we need to align that with what they're after, which is sustainability. Many of you may not know that the CIP was instrumental in the Vancouver Declaration in 2006. I think we're the first signatory. And if you look at principle number 1, there it is. So I think we've kind of lost track of it. We know it. We know this is our mission, but we haven't been very explicit about it. So this is nothing new. And for those who want a quick refresher, because often I think we tend to focus on the environmental sustainability, and then we take a subset of that like climate change or resiliency, and that's what sustainability is. And we keep forgetting that it's about the triple bottom line. The government hasn't forgotten. Climate change is now, then it's economics, then it's social. So you can look at the bullet list below there, and once we assemble our task force and we have your help, we can refine that. But I think those are all, you can see from that list, those are all things this government is interested in. And those are all things that planners are good at.
And there is certainly that desire to think about what's in it for me. And I think we even spelt what's in it for me. We forgot the T. But anyways, we'll work with what we've got. But we are really wanting people to get involved because they want to be involved. I think there's an opportunity here to really exercise what we've all wanted to do in planning. It's an opportunity to think outside of our day-to-day working boxes and generate new ideas. And I think that's been one of the things that's really excited me about this conference, this whole aspect of change and listening to people offer some new perspectives and some new thoughts, and also the enthusiasm that is there in the room. even if it is a smaller crowd, there's still a lot of enthusiasm, and I think it needs to be responded to. I think for certainly some of the younger planners, there's an opportunity to grow your network and your career, and actually I think that goes for us older planners as well. And there really is an opportunity to contribute to making a better province. And while I'm not an avid New Democratic supporter, some of the comments and certainly hearing the zealousness of some of these people within senior government on really wanting to drive an agenda home and really be effective with their climate change, I really do find it's quite exciting. And I think they really do need some assistance to realize some of the better things of their platform. So it is also a chance, I think, for the Institute to really step up and show leadership. And I think it's certainly already starting with what Council's been doing, as Doug was referring to, with certainly sending out some notes and comments to, well, news releases about what the Institute does stand for.
So this is the second key message. So again, we kept it really simple. First one is sustainable development requires sustainable planning. The second one is, hey, government, let's reestablish Alberta as a planning leader. A lot of them don't know that we were a leader once, and that we planners are ready, willing, and able to help. And they are looking, as Gary said, to NGOs from across North America. They're looking to Ontario. They're looking to BC. But so far, they haven't actually looked internally to us. And we have some of the best planners in Alberta. We can be planning leaders again. I think that sustainable development, if we pick on that, if we stick to story, that text, and focus on that, then we're going to get good mileage. I think the province itself can lead by example, and I would love to see them take the lead. I think that we would get a response from the government on that. I think our regions and rural areas need provincial support. It's not fair to dump complicated, sophisticated legislation or policies on them and expect rural areas to respond. They need that support. And this is a rare opportunity. Again, Government of Alberta, this doesn't happen very often, that we have not only a province, but two mayors, the two big city mayors in Alberta, and a federal government that are all very interested in this. And we have the money. Let me just pick one example. I'm going off script here, Gary, for a second. The government is about to collect multi-billions of dollars in carbon taxes. $6 billion is going to the oil and gas industry. Another, I think, $4 billion over 5 years is going to clean energy technology. $45 million is going into setting up an energy efficiency agency. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if that $45 million had been used to set up a sustainable development agency, including energy efficiency? Because energy efficiency and climate change does not stop with buildings. It starts with communities, which is what we do. So there's something that our task force might want to have a chat about, because right now planning is starved for funds at the province. Wouldn't that be a wonderful approach?
Just end on some humor as well, but humor is always essential, I think, to good decision making. And one of the things we'd like you to do is certainly take note of signing up, those that would like to get involved with this, and we hope that there are quite a few of you. If you would please register with Mary Jane. Just another thing to do.
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
but you're good at it.
We're going to have Mary Jane standing at the door, so you're not allowed to leave unless you sign up.
And we're going to just end on a picture note that Doug took. He does have copies. He'll be standing at the door as well, selling them. So, but anyways, thank you very much for your attention, and we certainly turn it over to Misty. And one of the other things, if I may, and I'm going to add to the script, is certainly compliment Eleanor on what's happening with CIP. And I say this, I guess, a little more focused with the climate change initiative and what CIP's moving towards, and also what it's moving towards with the Indigenous communities' involvement. And it's great to have that kind of activity bubbling around us as well. And it's hopefully through what we're doing here, we'll be able to contribute to Alberta's portion to CIP. So Thank you, and it's been a wonderful conference.